compared to, I think this wasn't on the first one. That chunk. Uncle Sam Jam parking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting of June 13th, 2016. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent meditation. And during the moment of silent meditation today, I would invite you to be mindful of the victims and families affected by the terror attacks in Orlando, as well as those in our community who experienced threats to their safety this weekend.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with LB 898, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the back of the chamber. The order of business of the City Council is as follows. The clerk will call the items listed on the agenda under public hearing, and anyone wishing to speak on an item should come forward after the clerk reads that item. The applicant and those in favor should speak first, then those opposed. The applicant may then make one short rebuttal. Each speaker should begin by stating name, address, and whether you intend to speak in favor or in opposition to an item. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker, and as a reminder, the timer will sound after 4 minutes. And after all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. And on the second and last Mondays of the month, immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on any issue not on our agenda for that date, nor planned for a future agenda. Parking passes are typically located by our city attorney, and agendas should be available in the back of the room. Teresa, will you please call the first item of business?
Yes, just a reminder, we would request those giving testimony to please clearly state your name and address and to sign in on the sign-in sheets laying on the podium. In observance of the July 4th holiday, there will be no city council meeting on Monday, July 4th. Our public hearing consent agenda are items 1 through 8.
Is there anyone wishing to come forward and testify on any of these items? Okay, seeing none, Teresa, please call the next item.
All right, if not, we can vote on these items. Items 1 and 2 were introduced by Camp.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Carl. Please call the roll.
Christensen?
Yes.
Eskridge?
Yes.
Fellers?
Yes.
Gaylor Baird?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0. Item 6 was introduced by Christensen.
So moved. Second.
Seconded by Carl. Any discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Christensen?
Yes.
Eskridge?
Yes.
Fellers?
Yes.
Gaylor Baird?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0. Next then are our public hearing liquor resolutions. We have the application of Junto for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 10 feet by 10 feet at Haymarket Farmers Market at Canopy Street on June 18th and July 16th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
My name is John Siebert. My address is 3336 Prairie View Drive, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Welcome. Please tell us about your application.
Yes, we're applying for an SDL to attend the Haymarket Farmers Market, the June 18th and July 16th dates. We'll just be doing wine tastings and bottle sales as well at the event.
Any questions? All right. Well, thank you for coming down today.
Thank you.
All right. Would anyone else like to testify on this item? All right. Next item, please, Teresa.
All right, if not, application of Blue Blood Brewing for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 26 feet by 55 feet at Lincoln Olive Oil Shop at 201 North 7th Street on June 20th from 5:30 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Hi, thank you. Colby Coash, C-O-L-B-Y, C-O-A-S-H, 829 Mary Court, here to represent Blue Blood Brewing Company for an SDL. For an event being held at Lincoln Olive Oil Shop. They're doing a olive oil and beer tasting on the 20th, and we'll be providing the beer.
Excellent. Any questions?
I was just going to comment. I don't drink any kind of alcohol, but that sounds like an odd combination. I was waiting for you to say wine.
Wine, right?
Yeah. Here we are, beer.
That's what they ordered.
All right.
We're going to deliver.
We're innovative here in Lincoln. All right.
Everything's better with beer.
Can't disagree with that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak to this item? All right.
Madam
Next.
Chair, I would move approval of items 9 and 10.
Second?
Moved by Camp, seconded by Raybold. Any further discussion? If not, please call the roll, Teresa.
Christensen,
Yes.
Eskridge.
Yes.
Fellers,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird,
Yes.
Lamb, Raybold,
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0. Public hearing resolutions, approving a multi-year contract between the city on behalf of the Health Department and Consultants in Infectious Disease LLC to provide medical consultation services to the Health Department for a term of July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2019.
Hi, Judy Halstead, Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department. The contract you have before you, you have because it's a 3-year contract. The total of the 3 years is about $82,000. We average about $27,000 with Dr. Steve Rademacher. He is a infectious disease specialist here in the city of Lincoln. Helps us with everything from our protocols on immunizations to how we do Ebola tracking to how we deal with individuals who are bitten by dogs who don't have a rabies vaccine soon enough to be covered. So he does a wonderful job with us. Our staff talks with Dr. Rademacher probably about every other day. So just want you to know that we really appreciate their service. They are one clinic, but Dr. Rademacher is the primary physician who helps us, but they have a number of other physicians in the group as well. So we feel we're well covered and have excellent service.
Great. Any questions? Carl?
So, if it's not your neighborhood, but if the city county jail or county jail, if they were to have an issue that would need Dr. Rademacher's expertise, they could do that.
Actually, they would do that through us. Tim Timmons is the supervisor for communicable disease at the health department. And he is actually the person that reportable diseases are reported to by statute in Lancaster County. And we would then work with the contracted medical provider out at the county jail with Dr. Rademacher's consultation.
That's good to know, because not only for the health and welfare of the inmates and the staff working in the jail, but those jail inmates typically are out in a fairly short period of time, so it's good for the whole community. So
That's correct.
Yeah.
And we work, many of the inmates that we have been exposed to hepatitis C over the course of their lives. And so very often that might be the first time that they've actually been diagnosed, has been when they've actually been brought into either county custody or state custody. The state has its own protocols. We don't typically work with the prison unless it is a communicable disease where the community could be at large. But Department of Corrections handles the prison itself.
good to know. Thank you.
Roy?
Judy, tell everybody a little bit about what happens in the rare event that we do identify some kind of infectious disease in the community. I know as a licensed healthcare professional, I get notifications.
Yep.
Want to tell people how that happens?
You bet. There are what are called mandatory reportable diseases that are communicable diseases that by state law are reported by healthcare providers. So if Carl were to take his child into the doctor and that child had a particular communicable disease, for example, measles, that would be reported to the health department. We would then follow up not only with that individual family to find out what possible folks they would be exposed to, but we do what are considered physician notifications. So we notify every licensed provider in Lincoln and Lancaster County that we have seen, for example, a measles case, and that we potentially have to look out for those and what those signs and symptoms are. They can contact us 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And we do. And then we follow up not only with those individuals about who they might have exposed themselves to, that we follow up then with those potential people, but then we make sure all the providers know as well.
Great, thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to testify on this item? Okay. Any staff questions? Any other? Okay. Teresa, please call the next item.
All right, next is item 12, approving the reappointment of Jeffrey Kirkpatrick as the city attorney for a 2-year term effective June 15, 2016.
Rick Hoppy, Mayor's Office. Just want to urge you to reappoint Mr. Kirkpatrick to a 2-year term. We think Mr. Kirkpatrick has very strong legal skills, a strong sense of integrity, and has done a great job of navigating between the City Council and the Mayor. You may all have heard that we don't always agree, and we think he's managed that very well, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, I have a list of 17 very important questions. No, just kidding, just kidding.
That's what we were worried about.
Yeah.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to testify on this item? Okay. Next item.
Unless you have questions. You still want to do the job, right? Yes.
All right. Next item, Teresa.
All right, next is item 13 then, approving the appointment of Mickey Esposito as Director of the Public Works and Utilities Department effective May 16, 2016.
Rick Hoppy, Mayor's Office. We'd like to urge you to support Ms. Esposito's appointment as Director of Public Works and Utilities. We're very fortunate Mickey has chosen to come back to the city to complete her work. She's a very strong manager, has a really original thinker, and has come up with some very innovative ideas for Public Works, and we're just glad to have her back.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Anyone else like to speak to this item? All right. Teresa, please call the next item.
All right, next is item 14, accepting the report of new and pending claims against the city and approving disposition of claims set forth for the period of May 16 through the 31st, 2016.
Does anyone wish to come forward to speak to a claim? Okay. Any staff questions? All right, please call the next item.
All right, next is item 15, Comp Plan Conformance 16003, approving the proposed University Place South redevelopment plan on approximately 37 acres on property generally bounded by North 48th Street and North 49th Street from Holdridge Street to Francis Street, including all of the University Place Community Organization Park.
Members of the Council, David Landis, Urban Development Department Director, the applicant in this case. This is the second of 3 steps towards bringing about the redevelopment of the former Tasty Inn and QP area along North 48th Street. The first step was to declare this area blighted and substandard based on the findings of the Hannah Keelan report. The second one is a plan for that area, and written in a way that it is a springboard for the third in what we regard as the final step, which is the approval of a redevelopment project and the use of tax increment financing for a 20,000 square foot retail and restaurant space on the ground floor of a structure that's about 5 stories high and contains 98 market rate residential units on the upper 4 floors. It faces 48th Street. It has garages and landscaping along 49th Street. The project itself will cost about $16.4 million of private sector money and $1.7 million in TIF. The project itself is consistent with the comprehensive plan, as is this plan. This plan has been before the Planning Commission and unanimously approved on May 11th. It does identify future public improvements that are in this area generally, that could need to be done over the course of the service of this TIF district. That would include aging public utilities that could be replaced, resurfacing and paving substandard public streets, sidewalk improvements, park improvements, and the like. However, I think we should think of this as the second of 3 steps towards the approval ultimately, should the council wish, of the project at 48th and Holdridge for the redevelopment of the Tasty Inn project. Here today is the developer, represented by council, able to identify specific either design or programmatic uses of the land that they intend to build on. And I'd ask for the adoption of the plan by the council.
Questions? Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, Cindy.
Thank you. Okay, so I was looking through my paperwork and I see that we have the wonderful redevelopment plan packet. And I just noticed that there was an empty blank on page 11 on the date that we declared the area blighted. Do you happen to have that date filled in?
I thought it was May 11th, as a matter of fact. Oh, 2016, you mean?
Yes,
Oh, yes, it was this year and just last month.
May 11th is your,
That's what my notes indicate. I'm sorry, the Planning Commission concurred, and they approved the plan on May 11th. That was this plan that's now before you. Before that was the date in which there was a designation of blighted and substandard. That was council action on May 9th. The May 11th date was the Planning Commission's activity on Wednesday. Your calendar must have come to you. Perhaps you're one of those people who instantaneously knows which day of the week it is when you identify a date. But the 11th was the Planning Commission. Ah, thank you. Anyway, it was the Planning Commission ruling on this plan before you now.
Any other questions for Dave? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. My name is Tom Houston. My address is 233 South 13th Street, Suite 1900 here in Lincoln. Appearing before you today on behalf of 48th Street Investments, LLC, which is comprised of Schaefer Richardson Development out of Minneapolis and Greenleaf Properties here in Lincoln. Mr. Landis is correct. The item in front of you is really the amendment or the redevelopment plan itself for this area, which is 37 acres, located approximately 48th and Holdridge Street. The issue in front of you is whether or not this redevelopment plan itself is consistent with the comprehensive plan, L Plan 2040. I'd just like to highlight a couple things for you. L Plan 2040 really emphasizes increased density within our community, and this development plan certainly conforms to that objective. The housing component of this project specifically would include 98 dwelling units along these two arterial streets. L Plan 2040 also suggests identifying newer uses for underutilized sites, and this site certainly is underutilized. L Plan 2040 encourages us to use existing infrastructure, and existing infrastructure will be used here with no additional public cost. And also, 48th and Holdridge is specified as a mixed-use development area within the comprehensive plan for 2040. The next steps for this project will be back in front of you in 2 weeks with a change of zone and with the alley vacation and with a redevelopment agreement. And the blight declaration was actually made on Monday, May 9th. I remember that because that was the hailstorm, if you remember that. Hopefully we won't have another one this evening after working my way through insurance claims on my own behalf. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them.
Trent.
How quickly do you get started?
Really, I've been trying to hold them off on getting building permits, actually. They would like to start construction immediately. I think assuming things go to Hoyle, the redevelopment agreement would be approved based on schedule would be July 11th, and I think they would like to start demolition that week. Mid-July is the plan.
That's good because it's looking pretty rough over there.
Yeah, it needs replaced. The demolition needs to occur, and so they plan to get going as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Jane.
Tom, how many units are in that multifamily development that you're showing us?
It's 98 units.
98.
It's a 5-story structure. The first floor will comprise it's about 22,000 square feet of retail and restaurant opportunities. There's no sidewalk cafe per se on the street frontage. It's all would be located on the east side for coffee shops and restaurants, etc.
And then there's parking on the backside.
Correct. And more than meets the required parking stalls required under the B3 zone. I'm jumping ahead a couple weeks, but we are consolidating the zoning districts. There's a kind of a combination of 3 different districts that don't fit well together, but so we're resolving some of those concerns simultaneously.
Carl.
And that's the piece that Mr. Landis said is the coming attraction.
Coming attraction, 2
okay.
weeks. Yeah, we'll have the 3 items that will complete the project in front of you in 2 weeks.
Okay.
That's the plan. And Schaefer Richardson Development from Minneapolis will be here for that to help answer any questions you may have from them.
Okay, thank you.
One other question, just in terms of conformance with the comp plan. Comp plan speaks to compatibility with the existing environment when you're doing infill redevelopment work. Can you speak to that issue?
Sure. Specifically, we are looking at the B3 with a planned unit development, and the planned unit development carries with it a development plan. Part of that development plan requires all the commercial development be on the west half of the block. There's no commercial development permitted on the east half of the block because that's closer to the neighborhood. And so in addition to setting forth the building as far west as we can to help create that separation between the existing residential uses, the site plan for the PUD also incorporates screening, including the garages on the west half of the block, or excuse me, the east half of the block, to help buffer any adverse impacts. And lastly, I would suggest that there were curb cuts that were located on 49th Street that have been eliminated, so no traffic will be generated on the internal residential street for 49th Street.
The building is tall. Can you
It is
speak to how you've tried to mitigate that issue
One
for
of the
surrounding properties?
Well, one of the primary methods of mitigation of the height is really relating to the location of the building on the site, in as far west as possible, far away from the 6 homes that abut the site on 49th Street. The other thing I would add is this project does give us opportunity to remove the overhead power lines on this block, which is a good step in this area, help eliminate some of that clutter. So this project will help us do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to come speak to this item? All right, any other staff questions? All right, seeing none, Teresa, please call the next item.
All right, next is our public hearing ordinances, second reading, and related resolutions. I'll call items 16 through 19 together. They are Comp Plan Amendment 15004, amending the 2040 Comp Plan to change the future land use plan designation from commercial, green space, and environmental resources to residential urban density, green space, and environmental resources on property at Southwest 30th and West A Street. And then we have the conditional annexation and zoning agreement for the property from Anderson Homes for the development and annexation of property. Annexation 15014, annexing approximately 41.84 acres at Southwest 30th and West A. And the change of zone 15036, application of Anderson Homes for a change from AGR agricultural residential and AG agricultural to R4 residential at Southwest 30th and West A.
Good afternoon. My name is Lyle Loth with Riga Engineering Group, 601 Old Cheney Road, here on behalf of Anderson Homes, the applicant for this project. These are 4 final items that need to be approved to conclude the ultimate application for these 432 dwelling units at Southwest 30th and West A Street. The special permit creating these 432 units was approved by the Planning Commission on February 17th. That decision was appealed to this body, and on March 28th, this body did also approve it with some conditions. And so that brings us here today to complete these 4 items, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
No questions, I guess. All right, well, thank you for being here today. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of this item?
Mark Antonson, 1521 Southwest 30th Street, 68522. Council members, you may remember I was the appealee on this motion previously. I'm speaking now in support of this project because I recognize that with the additions council made, I think this is a legitimate compromise until West A Street can be improved. I also want to take this moment, as I know the city is working on its budget and revisions to the CIP, to kind of take a brief moment to look at the West A Street project and where it is in the CIP, and I promise not to exceed my 5 minutes. I have here the West A fact sheet provided in May by the Public Works and Utilities Department. I think some interesting things to point out on this is this is a road which has not had a major improvement, and I'll speak specifically of the section from Coddington to Southwest 40th, which is what this development is proposed off of, that has not seen a major improvement since records were kept beginning in the Eisenhower administration. So this is not a new road that we're talking about, or even a relatively recent road. This is also a road that feeds Lincoln's largest public elementary school. So you would think with those two facts alone that this project would surely be moving up in priority in the CIP, but I'm afraid that you would be wrong. So if you look at the comparison between the 2014, and I'll zoom that in, because even I can't read that. If you look, there we go. So the top line here is the 2014-2016 CIP, and the next line is the 2016-2018 CIP. So you can see that while the project does not appear to be delayed from a start perspective, it's certainly delayed by a funding perspective. There's obviously a question mark there on what might be spent for professional engineering services in 27, and that is 2017, 2018. But if you look at how the dollar amounts lay out, this project does not receive the full funding that it had in 2 years until 4 years had lapsed. So this is considered by the neighbors, while still good news to hear the project is moving up in terms of being started, is certainly dismaying news to see the timeline being extended and slipped out from the 2014-2016 CIP. So with the approval and moving forward of this project, while the neighbors certainly support it, we continue to urge the city and Public Works to stop delaying this project and to go ahead and complete it as quickly as possible, as the need is clearly there. Any questions?
Roy, then Trent? Or just Trent?
So we're aware of the West A situation. We recently did a full CIP tour, and I can tell you that riding West A in a city bus is a very fun experience, as the other folks that went on the tour can attest to. I think some of us were jostled around in our seats pretty good. So we've heard you. We've been out there. We've been looking. It's something that we have to talk about as the budget comes up. But we recognize that there's some issues out there that we need to take care of.
Thank you.
Carl.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
And appreciate your work with the whole process here and working with the developer and your neighborhood. And, you know, I think if we get, I think this project will help to kind of boost the West A project along. There might be some discomfort for a couple of years maybe, but hopefully it will help to ramp it up in terms of the necessity and where you are on that list. There's no question. It's important and needs to happen, not only the roadway, but the storm drainage that goes under it, the sidewalks that are needed for bikes and walkers, and the whole package. So thanks for your work.
Yeah, I'll just add that I think the neighbors will be quite receptive to construction starting, as this should hopefully be a refreshing experience for Public Works, as I believe neighbors are not always excited about construction projects. Yeah. We are quite excited for this to begin.
Yeah. Northwest 48th people had the same experience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Would anyone else like to speak in favor of this item? Opposed? Staff questions?
Yes.
Yes, Carl.
Public Works, Lonnie, or Mickey, everybody.
I think we brought Mickey Esposito, Director of Public Works and Utilities, if you vote for me today, for the appointment. We have a little update for you that our traffic engineers have worked on, so I just wanted to provide that insight today. Thank you.
Yeah, so we kept...
Introduce yourself real quick, Lonnie.
Sorry. Lonnie Berkman, Public Works Department, Traffic Engineering Manager with Engineering Services. We've kept hearing some of the message out on West A Street, and as Trent commented, we're well aware of some of the maintenance issues and the drainage, and surely some need for more pedestrian amenities. In terms of the Traffic Engineering Division, we've kind of taken a look at a few things, trying to do what we can to continue and squeeze some of that capacity out of some of those locations, namely the Coddington and West A intersection. So just at least happy to report it's not a fix-all, but this last Friday, our team went out and we installed some east and westbound left turn phasing at the intersection. So we got the green arrow signal heads hung out there, and those are operating, so folks ought to have been seeing that this weekend. And today we put some new signal timings out at Coddington and West A, so we'll kind of continue to monitor that over the next week or so, but definitely should be some noticeable improvements for a few of those heavy turn movements out there, and we'll keep monitoring it as we can.
Jane.
Have you noticed an increase in the traffic on Southwest 40th Street?
I don't know that we've done any specific data collection out there yet, and with the opening of the bridge, but yeah, there's definitely some continued activity further west. So, not anything that's at capacity of the roadway or cause for some additional traffic controls, but I'd say throughout the day there's some heavier traffic, you bet.
Okay, Carl.
This isn't in your ballpark. It has to do with wastewater. And maybe I need Mr. Luth to come forward. That might be helpful if that's possible. I don't know who else could answer it. What's the wastewater program for this development?
Or the development?
Yeah.
Lots 1 and 2 are that actually front on A Street can gravity access the sewer to the existing line that's in A Street. That line does have adequate capacity for that. The buildings further to the north cannot be accessed by gravity, so there will need to be installed an ejector station that will serve all of the buildings to the north of lots 1 and 2. Basically on lot 3, which houses, I believe there are 9 buildings there. And there will be a lift station or ejector station that will also discharge into the West A trunk sewer.
Okay.
And it will be certainly imperative on the owner to make sure that that lift station is adequately backed up with backup generators or whatever to prevent any possible flooding of basements or buildings.
Okay. And city staff have signed off on that plan?
Yes, I think that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, that's correct.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for staff? Thank you very much for coming down today for the update. All right, I think that concludes that item. Teresa, can you call the next?
That actually concludes our public hearing. We can move into the voting session. Public hearing resolutions. Item 11 is the multi-year contract with Consultants in Infectious Disease, LLC, introduced by Camp.
So moved.
Second?
Seconded by Jane. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Christensen?
Yes.
Eskridge?
Yes.
Fellers?
Yes.
Gaylor Baird?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0. Item 12, approving the reappointment of Jeffrey Kirkpatrick as the city attorney, introduced by Camp.
So moved.
Second?
Seconded by Jane. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Christensen?
Yes.
Eskridge?
Yes.
Fellers?
Yes.
Gaylor Baird?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0. Item 13 is approving the appointment of Mickey Esposito as Public Works Director, introduced by Camp.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Roy. Any discussion? Welcome back. Please call the roll.
Christensen?
Yes.
Eskridge?
Yes.
Fellers?
Yes.
Gaylor Baird?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0. Item 14 is the report of claims against the city for May 16th through the 31st, introduced by Camp.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Carl.
Madam Chair, I'd move for a motion to amend number 1.
Okay.
And that is, I guess we need a second.
Second.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Basically, claimant's vehicle required supplemental repairs as a result of the accident. So this is a redefinition of the amount.
That motion was moved by John, second by Jane. I'm gonna call the roll.
Christensen?
Yes.
Eskridge?
Yes.
Fellers?
Yes.
Gaylor Baird?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Now on the main motion.
Christensen,
Yes.
Eskridge.
Yes.
Fellers,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0. Item 15, Comp Plan Conformance 16003. This is for the Uni Place South Redevelopment Plan, introduced by Camp.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Carl. Discussion? Just to add that there are a number of reasons why this conforms with the comp plan, as we heard from the applicant and staff. This is taking an underutilized area of our town and bringing new life and vitality, making use of existing infrastructure, which costs less to taxpayers. It will increase density, which is called for in the comp plan, and provides vitality through a mixed-use development. So on several fronts is in conformance with the vision of the 2040 plan. Call the roll, please.
Christensen,
Yes.
Eskridge.
Yes.
Fellers,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0. Next are public hearing ordinances, second reading, items 16 through 19. Ordinances, third reading. Item 20 is an ordinance authorizing and providing for the issuance of not to exceed 6.3 million aggregate stated principal amount of general obligation storm sewer and drainage system bonds for the city of Lincoln, Nebraska, introduced by Raybold.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Roy. Discussion? Right, we've talked about this quite a bit. This was voted on and passed overwhelmingly, and today we are just providing authorization to act on that public vote for improvements to our stormwater system. Please call the roll.
Christensen,
Yes.
Eskridge.
Yes.
Fellers,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0. Item 21 is Street and Alley Vacation 16001, vacating a portion of the North 50th Street public right-of-way between the south right-of-way line of St. Paul Avenue and the north right-of-way line of Baldwin Avenue, introduced by Raybold.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by John. Discussion? All right, Carl?
I think it's, anytime you change a neighborhood by closing a neighborhood street, it's an issue of concern, and I appreciate the developer working hard with the neighborhood and First United Methodist Church, actually very diligently over about a year's time to get agreement on this. So it looks like an important improvement, not only to the college, but also to the neighborhood and area as well. So support.
All right, please call the roll.
Christensen,
Yes.
Eskridge.
Yes.
Fellers,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0. Item 22. Pre-existing special permit 23H for Nebraska Wesleyan University, introduced by Raybold.
So moved.
Second.
Second by John. Discussion? Cindy?
Yes, okay, so Nebraska Wesleyan, everybody up there is very excited about this new project going in, and I think it'll be a great addition. Last week, we heard testimony from the church, which I think is great, they're on board, and the collaboration between the church and Nebraska Wesleyan as far as helping kids in the community. So we're pretty excited up there in the Wesleyan area and glad to support this particular project.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make motion to amend number 1 on this.
Second.
And this strikes some words about not backing into public alley and then striking 3 lines in their entirety.
Okay, that was moved by John and seconded by Jane. Any discussion on the motion to amend? Okay, please call the roll.
Christensen,
Yes.
Eskridge.
Yes.
Fellers,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Now on the main motion, please.
Christensen,
Yes.
Eskridge.
Yes.
Fellers,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0. Item 23 is change of zone 16010, application of the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners for a change of zone from R4 to B3 at 2201 South 17th Street, introduced by Raybold.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Roy. Discussion. Cindy?
Yeah, I understood that there was going to be an amendment brought by the county Did anyone receive that amendment?
No.
Okay. Is there anyone from the county here?
Carrie.
Oh.
Well, yes, I did receive a copy of a development conditional zoning agreement dated Friday that I thought was forwarded to Rick Peo in the city attorney's office. I can get a clean copy I've written on this one, but I can make that a part of the record if that's the.
This would have been something different from last week's.
I'm going to rely on my attorney a little bit here for the differences. I know that we made it B3 zoning, but limited to BT O2 uses. And know that in the case of new construction, there would be a 20-foot setback along South 17th for any parking stall. So if the building would be enlarged, then, or any construction, then the setback would kick in. It would be 20 feet. And the signs would be limited in size to 32 square feet and 8 feet in height. And any additional amendments, David?
Dave Durbin, Deputy County Attorney, Lancaster County Attorney's Office. The height, I believe that the sign requirements, the setback requirements were already in the agreement before. The only change is what Carrie had stated during public hearing last week, which was the county was willing to agree to B3 with limited to O2 purposes.
Yes.
And that is what the change is in the substitute agreement.
Roy, and then Trent. Oh, Trent.
Are we reopening the public hearing here? Because if we're going to get the applicant the ability to speak, then we should give the anyone that was opposed to the public hearing the ability to speak too. And since we don't have a drafted amendment, I might move that we just delay this 1 week so that we can actually have the motion to amend available so that we can read it. I think I know the county wants to move forward with their the county wants to move forward with their zoning change, but I haven't seen or read the agreement.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'd move 1 week delay.
Second.
1 week delay moved by Trent, seconded by Cindy. Discussion?
With public hearing.
With public hearing, thank you.
We'd have to
Well,
vote.
would we have to reopen public hearing? I mean,
Do we have
that's-
to vote to reopen public hearing separately from the motion to delay, or can we do that as one? Okay, that's my motion.
John and Jane?
Yeah. I think it's a good idea to have everything in front of us. I also see, though, we've got a number of people here in the audience, and I hate to inconvenience people too much, too. And so I don't know what's best, if there'd be a way to allow some discussion, although this, it's our rules, so we do what we want. But
If I may, I think inconveniencing people, it would be more of an inconvenience for people, for us to vote on something that wouldn't be in front of us.
That's fair.
And I would also say, Jeff Kirkpatrick, city attorney, that you couldn't bring them up here. This is not, was not publicized as a hearing today.
Yes.
And so people that may have wanted to come and testify didn't know that. And so it wouldn't be fair to let some people testify without throwing it open for everybody.
Jeff, is there time to delay and reopen public hearing next week, or do we have to advertise and therefore delay a couple of
No,
weeks?
you can do it for next week.
Okay. Jane, did you have a question?
Well, I was a little bit surprised because I heard that there was going to be an amended agreement, but we hadn't seen it. So I just assumed it was in our packet too.
I think maybe there were some assumptions made that
Okay.
somebody dropped the ball, and it may well have, I don't know if it was our office necessarily, but certainly it's problematic at this point.
Okay, so we have a motion, if I understand Trent's motion correctly, a motion to delay 1 week and to reopen the public hearing next
Correct.
week. And that was moved by Trent and seconded by Cindy.
Mhm.
Any further discussion? All right, please call the roll on the motion.
Christensen?
Yes.
Eskridge?
Yes.
Fellers?
Yes.
Gaylor Baird?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Camp?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 25, change of zone 16015, application of Capital Group for a change of zone from B1 local business to B2 planned neighborhood business on property located at 1404 Superior Street, introduced by Raybold.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this item? Sorry, it's moved by Roy and seconded by Jane. Discussion on this item? All right. Please call the roll.
Christensen,
Yes.
Eskridge,
Yes.
Fellers,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0. Item 26 is approving a lease agreement between the city and Silver Properties for a lease of space for a one-year term for use by LPD, introduced by Raybold.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Jane, seconded by John. Discussion? All right, please call the roll.
Christensen,
Yes.
Eskridge,
Yes.
Fellers,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0. Resolutions on first reading are items 27 and 28. Ordinances on first reading are items 29 through 31. Anyone wishing to address the council on a matter not on this agenda and not planned to appear on a future agenda may do so at this time, since it is an open microphone day.
Just before we slip into that business, just wanted to make sure that both of those items, 23 and 24, were carried over for the next meeting.
I think that was the intent.
Those
Yeah,
were the
that was my
related
intent.
items? Okay. Did you
Got that,
catch that,
Teresa?
Teresa?
I assumed as much since they were related.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, seeing no one coming forward, I would move for adjournment and see people next week.
Adjournment moved by John, seconded by Roy. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Christensen,
Yes.
Eskridge,
Yes.
Fellers,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Camp.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
We are adjourned.